Hello FRC Canada, and welcome to the 2013-2014 webinar series. Wow, what an outstanding year for FRC in Canada. Two of our Canadian teams, 1241 and X10, brought home the World Championships with the robot. What an outstanding feat. And we had a girl from Kingston, Ontario, Kaylee Vivek, a grade 11 student, when she won the Dean's List Award, the top 10 in the world of outstanding students in FRC. Congratulations, Kaylee. And this past summer, many of you may not know, but three Canadian teams teamed up, 1114, 2056, and 1334, to work strategically to dominate and win the IRI event in July. It begs the question for sure, who's going to dominate at the Finger Lakes Ruckus event that happens in July? This brings about a lot of chatter that's going on in Chief Delphi, as many people are asking, what the heck is going on in Canada? Hey Canadians, let's not tell them that it's more than just the maple syrup. At this time, let me take a moment to introduce myself, John Hobbins, FRC guy in Canada, and I'm now going to introduce my co-moderator for the webinar series, Christine Vivek from Kingston. Christine, go ahead.
Hi John, thanks. So first of all, thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. As always, just a friendly reminder that our guests here tonight are sharing their opinions with us, and this advice isn't meant to replace any of the official information that's sent out by FIRST, but nonetheless we do find it very valuable and helpful. Keep in mind tonight also throughout the presentation that if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. You can see that on the right-hand panel on your screen there. You should have a little hand symbol that you can use to raise your hand to let us know that there's something you'd like to add into the conversation. And throughout the evening, if you could just post any questions that you have in the question box also on your right-hand panel there. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can given the time that we have. And as we ask your question, we'll also be unmuting you at that time so that you can interact with the panelists to clarify details and sort of get the most out of your discussion. So until then, though, everybody will be kept muted except for our panelists, who will be muting and unmuting themselves. And other than that, I guess that's all we have to say, John, so back to you.
Great, Christine, thanks very much. If all the people on the webinar can have a look at the screen, you should be seeing my screen, which is showing the Ask an Expert webinar with the logo up in the right-hand corner for today's webinar. And our special guests, I would like to introduce Mr. Corey Lehman of 1241 and Sean Lim of 610. Artie Javeri, an expert parent lead, will be speaking tonight, along with a guest speaker, Mr. Mark Bredner, to give us part of the first update. And additionally, we're going to have some superstars from St. Mildred's Team 771 update us on the symposium that's going to happen on October 5th. As we begin the agenda, I want to do the first update, which is something we've not done before. And I'm going to tap Mark Bredner on the shoulder now and ask him if there's anything he wants to share with all of Canada. Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks, John. These events, these webinars are going to be fantastic going forward. It's a nice way to learn at the comfort and pace of, being at your own home in your jammies if you want to be, or wherever you are. Hopefully, the plan is to make them nice and casual and just a learning experience to make your first experience even more fun than it is now. So just a couple quick things. I have to point out, we do FRC, of course, we also do FLL in Canada, and just a couple days ago we passed 400 FLL teams in Ontario this year, which is a huge number, our biggest ever, and a lot of you would know Dave Ellis, who runs FLL, but that's a huge accomplishment. And down the road, if it's not a thing that your team does, mentoring FLL teams, it's something to really think about. It's a fun thing to do kind of in the off season, if you will, from FRC. The other thing I wanted to point out, and it's all over our webpage and our Facebook, is we now have over $100,000 in FIRST Canada scholarships with our sponsoring universities, and that's going to grow. That may hit $150,000 this year. So we really want to make sure, and I'm not sure the mix of mentors and students that are involved in this call, but that you really go to the US FIRST site and check out all the Canadian University First Scholarships, and make sure your kids and the students are aware of it and are applying for them. It's free money, and they want to give it to first kids, so hopefully we'll get lots of kids and people applying for it. And finally, today, as you all know, was registration day, opening day, and we had our biggest first day ever. 2 of our events are nearly full, which has never happened before, 2 of our FRC events. And so that's fantastic news. We're expecting a bumper year in terms of teams and new teams and teams returning. And we have 7 FRC events right across Canada this year. So, of course, we're coming off a stellar year last year, as John said, with 2 world champions and IRI wins and stuff. So, anyway, hopefully my hope for you is that you have fun in these webinars, ask questions. We're bringing in the people, the smart people that know all the good stuff, and it should make your experience all the more fun. So back to you, John.
Great, thanks, Mark. That was super. I need to add that outstanding work that Dave Ellis and his team of go-getters to raise that mark well over 400 teams. That's fantastic for FLL. But we are also looking for a super turnout this year with FRC rookie teams. I know that the number's going to be well over 30 teams, and close to all those new teams that are stepping up and wanting to experience this. I do have an update about the kickoff that's coming up on January 4th this year. Typically, teams were allowed a certain amount of representatives from their teams to attend at the Science Center. Veteran teams, take note, you will be limited to 3 representatives of the veteran teams, and we're going to allow 5 representatives for rookie teams. And rookie teams, don't forget to plan for the quick build that immediately follows the kickoff from approximately 1 till 9 p.m. at Crescent School in Toronto, right there on Bayview. Now, mark your calendars, teams. The illustrious Karthik and Team 1114 is going to share their outstanding expertise with all of First Canada and perhaps the world on how to build a Chairman's World Championship team. They're going to bring it right from the very beginning of what they started to do as a young team and how they grew the strength of that team to become a world champion. And I know, especially with the changes in the rules with Chairman's this year, where teams can apply at every single event, that Chairman's is going to be a big target on many teams' agenda. And the rest of you, First Canada, I just want to say this just in on my desk. It just came across my desk. The regional update. I'm going to go through the numbers very quickly here for you. The GTR, our new home for the GTR at Crescent School in Toronto, has 3 spots left. Yes, I said 3. The GTR East has a lot of room left, so patience there. Waterloo, if you snooze, you lose at Waterloo. There's 1 spot left. Montreal, guess what, folks? If you didn't get in there, too bad for you. They're sold out. Montreal is already sold out. Calgary, lots of room. And North Bay, our friends in the Great White North, there's still plenty of room there and lots of room left at Windsor. Now, I tell you, we expect a fantastic tournament. And those of you that don't know, there are 2 brand new tournaments this year, and that would be the North Bay Regional and Windsor. And lastly, let me end off by saying, teams, send me an email. If you want to be a guest speaker on future webinars, we want people to step up and to share their best practice on the webinar so that we can elevate the success of all of our Canadian teams. And lastly, send in topics that you want on the webinar so that these are valuable to you, they're informative, and they make a difference in your experience each year. And that's all I have for the update. I'm very pleased to hand it over to Corey Lehman and Sean Lim from teams 610 and 1241. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone.
How's everyone doing? First Robotics Community in Canada. Sorry about that, Corey. I guess I'm just being made the presenter here, so hopefully everyone can see my screen. But we'll just do very quick introductions. First of all, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Sean Lim, or maybe more popularly known as Mr. Lim. I am a teacher here at the Crescent School in Toronto on Bayview, and I am the lead programming electronics and strategy mentor for Team 610. And with me is Corey. Corey, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Corey Lehman. I am the robotics teacher at Rick Hansen Secondary School and the lead mentor of Team 1241. And I think Sean right now has queued up the introduction video for the kickoff just to start off our discussion about how the build season went this past season.
So we're just going to structure this. We know there's a few rookie teams out there, and so the very first thing that all the teams experience prior to build season is the kickoff, where they release the game. And so for the rookies out there, if you're not familiar with the game, we're just going to go ahead and play the game animation. It's about 3 minutes long. It'll give you a good description of Ultimate Ascent. That was the name of the game that our robots played this past year.
Welcome to the 2013 First Robotics Competition. At this year's game, Ultimate Ascent. Ultimate Ascent is played on a 27 by 54 foot field. Alliances of 3 teams each operate their robots from behind alliance walls at the ends of the field. 4 scoring goals are located in each alliance wall.
Sean and Christine, we can't hear any audio any longer.
Yeah, Sean, you've muted yourself, I think.
Instruction. Every end goal scored during the autonomous period scores double points as a bonus. At the end of this period, human drivers step forward to take the controls. As the teleoperated period starts, teams command their robots to score as quickly as possible. Discs can be scored by throwing or placing them into the goal. Robots can hold up to 4 discs at one time. After gathering discs, they can try to score from anywhere on the field. Human players enter discs onto the field by passing them through slots in the feeder stations. Robots in the loading zone are protected from interference by their opponents while they receive discs. But robots not touching this safe zone have to deal with defending opponent robots. Near the end of the match, human players can throw discs onto the field and try to score. At the same time, robots drive to their pyramids and start to climb for bonus points. The higher they climb, the more points they will receive. Robots can climb up the sides or the corners of the pyramid, but they have to remain there as the game ends and collect their bonuses. Good luck, and we'll see you at the competitions.
All right, so Corey, you know what? I have a question for you because I'm dying to know. When you first saw that game animation, what was your reaction? What were your initial thoughts on the game?
Well, I think the first thing that everyone was doing was freaking out about Frisbees. They were really excited that it was going to be a shooting game again because I think that a lot of teams last year had fun and it was a really action-packed game having the basketballs. But when I saw that for the first time, I just thought, wow, like First really has done their homework to try to make this a very complicated game this year.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting reaction because our boys actually really like the Frisbees, but they sort of looked at it and said, okay, the Frisbees I think we can do. The shooting might actually be a lot easier than we think. The pyramid, that's going to be a real doozy. And this is sort of one of the priorities that we do when we do our initial game analysis, is we look at the game and we try and look at what's going to be really easy to do and what's going to be really hard to do. And of course, you look at how many points each one of those tasks is worth. And then, of course, you know, you try and figure out what's worth doing and what's ultimately not worth doing. And that pyramid, boy, we looked at it and said, I think this is the absolute hardest challenge that FIRST has ever given given us in an FRC game. How did you feel about that, Corey?
From all the years that I've seen in the past, I would agree with that. I think that from the moment it was released, we spent a lot of time and energy trying to figure out how to climb up the pyramid, just because since that was such an overwhelming obstacle, the team right away wanted to conquer that. But exactly like you said about right away, we had to kind of decide what would be the best strategy to score the most points. So that's kind of what we decided to dissect first. And then we decided, okay, well, you know what, this is our needs that the robot must be able to do. Then we went over what we hope the robot will do, and then what we consider almost a wish list. So if everything's going well, and if we still have space and weight provided on a robot, that we would also continue working on things such as a climber.
Right, and you know what, it was kind of our objective like that as well. You know, just to share some information with the rookie teams who might be out there. The 610, we consider ourselves to be a pretty high resource team. We're probably in the top quartile of what we have available in our shop and our expertise. And honestly, we were telling ourselves, if we worked full bore for the full 6 weeks, I don't know if we can get to the top of that pyramid. On that first day, it was a tough decision to even try and pursue it or not. But if I was back in the shoes of a rookie team, I'd probably be looking at that pyramid and saying, you know what, it's just not worth it. And the discs, whether you even shoot them or not, it might be just a better bet just to pick them up off the ground and put them in those little 1-point goals. But I don't know if you've got any perspective for maybe the rookie teams. Would you have done the same thing if maybe you were a slightly lower resource team?
I agree with that. I thought it was really impressive seeing how many rookie teams did make that decision early on to go for either a 10-point hang with a pneumatic system or with a wedge design. I think that that robot in 3 days team that completed their robot early in the build season, that was really helpful, because I think it kind of put into perspective about how you'd be able to build a accurate shooter and what you could expect to be able to actually get done, because definitely we saw a lot of teams that had phenomenal shooters, and I'm sure that you're going to lead into shortly about the prototyping phase of the shooting.
Right.
Yeah, Sean and Corey, if I could just add into that, because you brought up a lot of tremendous points. The idea of a rookie team being very smart and strategic to make sure that they they come up with a 3-day robot, and there's a good example of what rookies could follow. And what I would suggest is it really speaks to the strength and the depth of our core teams in Canada that are so strong. And when you look at the teams like 1334, 1114, with the ability to climb to the top of the pyramid and dump those extra frisbees in for those top scores, and somehow 1241, 610, and 1477 were able to find a magic formula to not do that and still win. But when you look at the IRI event, those teams that are just so powerful were able to put it all together and reach the top, so to speak, and be successful.
But I guess it's a good point to note that, both 1241 and 610, we tried to climb. We put in significant effort during those 6 weeks of build, and I'll tell you, we had 4, 5, 6 prototypes, and you know what? They were high enough build quality. They weren't prototypes anymore. These were real mechanisms that we attempted, and we just did not get to the top. And so, once again, going back to the rookie teams, you got to be very, very careful in terms of what you choose to try and do, and what you're just going to leave out and just say, you know what, I'm going to choose not to do that. And it's funny to say this, but you'll probably win or lose more matches just from that decision right on day one, just being very selective about what you choose to do or not. Once again, 2 world champs. I'd love to have those hours back that we spent on that climber. It's not so bad that we tried. It's always a good learning experience, but it's hard to throw away hundreds and hundreds of man hours on something that doesn't end up going on your robot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel that a lot of the rookie teams that did do well at tournaments were the ones that did focus on three aspects of the game. So ones that had a good drivetrain, a good shooter, and an accurate, or at least consistent 10-point hang. That was what a lot of the veteran teams were looking for, because as you said, Sean, about the hours put into the climber, a lot of teams probably don't know this, but we also have a climber that, due to weight restrictions, we weren't able to put on our robot. So people were wondering why our 5-disc autonomous was to pick up frisbees and then spin around 180 and shoot them. It was because we had to do that in order to put our climber on the robot. But due to weight restraints and just time limits too, we weren't able to get that goal. So that just shows how impressive those other teams were that were able to climb to the top, especially the ones that could jump too.
And then I'd have to say, you know, after looking at the pyramid and the possibility of climbing, our boys, sorry, Crescent is an all-boys school, so I tend to say our boys all the time. But we wondered, right off the bat, the full court shot. Would it be possible just to stay at one end of the field, feed those frisbees in through the slot, and without even moving, take a 54-foot shot, go the full length of the field, and hit that tiny little three-point goal, you know, 90% of the time? And I guess we have a funny story on this one to share, but we stumbled across the full court shot pretty much by accident. We threw together a shooter prototype. We checked YouTube for just frisbee throwing devices. There was one already on there from some university crew who just decided to make a robot, or sorry, to make a frisbee shooter. We kind of duplicated it with, you know, the motors that we had in our shop, and first time out, literally spun it up, put some basic speed control on it, and we were hitting full court shots in our little test area at about an 80% clip, and it changed our perspective in terms of how we were going to approach this game. And you know what, I won't ruin the surprise. I don't know if it changed our perspective for better or for worse, but Corey, how did you guys stumble upon your full court shooter, which I guess is a bit of a secret because not too many people realize that, well, both 610 and 1241 were actually capable of making full court shots?
Well, what happened for us is when we were researching about the shooter, we were experimenting first with a straight shooter as well as the arc that we eventually decided to go with. And we spent about 2 evenings on each of them. And as you said, like when we started using the arc shooter just with a sim motor attached and a speed control, we were able to get a high degree of accuracy just propping it up on a piece of wood, like just a really rough prototype. And that's where the team decided, like, you know what, we're going to go further on this because the straight shooter was still accurate, but it only had a certain range. And we actually had finished our first regional, and we had added different pneumatic cylinders to the front of our shooter to be able to adjust the angle. And we decided in our gym to try it out. We were astonished at what degree of accuracy we could actually shoot full court at. So that was going to be our strategy at Waterloo Regional, but unfortunately we are a short robot and our feeder setup wasn't up to par with most of the full court shooters that could funnel. Because what was your take on that, Sean, about the successful full court shooters? What did you think that they could do that we maybe were struggling with?
Well, I mean, there were really good full court shooters out there. At the World Championships, that was the strategy of choice. Get a tall full court shooter, parked back there, and just fire shots, and that was the big difference. You know, if you didn't have a tall full court shooter, I think you're just about done in terms of full court shooting. And of course, for those of you who know about 610 and 1241's robots, we're short robots, and that was to facilitate being able to drive under the pyramid. And so the irony is I know we also spent a ton of time perfecting and really dialing in those full court shots. But looking back on the season, you know, we rarely used that full court shot, and that was for a number of different reasons. And you know, we'll probably elaborate about this a little bit more when we talk about our World Championship experience, but we actually felt we had an advantage over the full court shooters by not full court shooting, because well, I won't name who said this, but there's a very good friend of mine, heavily involved in FRC, brilliant strategian. He had a nickname for the full court shooter, and he actually called them the full court missers. Now, they were actually pretty good. The full court shooters could hit at a pretty high percentage. You know, I think our scouting said the better ones were around 75, 80%, low 80%. But when you were playing the game at a very, very high rate or at a very high level, you know, those missed shots made a big difference. If you were going up against three cyclers, for instance, who could hit, you know, 90% of their shots, if not even higher, it turns out that you wouldn't win the match. So we felt like we fell in love with the full court shooter, spent a lot of time on it, a lot of time perfecting it, and we didn't end up using it hardly at all.
Sean and Corey, I wonder, you guys have brought up a lot of tremendous points, and I'm sure strategies and insights that a lot of the veteran teams would have some sense of already. I wonder if we could just back it up a bit and look at, in general terms, you're given an animation on the kickoff, like what you showed at the beginning there, Sean, and new teams are faced with this cartoon animation of something that I need to design and build the road for, and I want to be successful. But you've mentioned some key parts of the game from this past year: full court shooting, climbing the pyramid high versus just a 10-point climb, picking up, spinning around an autonomous, or just shooting through an autonomous. If you were to break it down into three key criteria, what a team would look at, what would you say? You know, something about autonomous and something about how you play your game. What are the key things to make sure you're going to be bringing yourself the most amount of success?
Well, I can delve a little bit into how 610 does that process, and I think I can give you 3 points, the condensed version. Pretty much the moment after we see that animation, we get our entire team together and we try and come up with something called a 90th percentile score. And that's basically a prediction on how many points we would need to score as an alliance in order to win 90% of our matches. So I'd say that's major point number 1. Try and come up with a number of points that would win 90% of your matches. Now, we actually kind of blew our prediction this year. The number that we came up with was only something like, I think it was 75 points. It was really quite low. And so which brings me to point number 2. The next step in our process is we ask ourselves, okay, if we were the only robot working in our alliance, how could we score those 75 points the most efficiently and safely with taking the fewest amount of risks on our own? And so we start working backwards from there. If we look at it the most simple way, well, what if all we did was pick up frisbees from the feeder station, drive to the pyramid, and shoot them in, you know, 4 at a time, going back and forth? That's a process known as cycling. How many cycles would we need to get? Can we do that in the right amount of time? And actually, initially, our strategy there said that, you know, we couldn't. We wouldn't be able to shoot the frisbees fast enough or accurately enough. We'd have to shoot something like 16 discs and then go up and climb. We thought that shooting more than 16 discs would take more than 2 minutes, literally. So we blew that prediction as well. And then sort of last but not least, in terms of point number 3, what we do is we develop a textbook strategy. The textbook strategy is a second-by-second breakdown which lists out exactly what our robot is doing for the entire match, starting from autonomous through teleop. Literally, it's like drive 20 feet forward, pick up 3 discs, drive to the pyramid, shoot 4 discs into the goal. And then once we look at that textbook strategy, we go back and we say, well, can we do this? Do we have the resources to do it? And if we don't feel we do, we've got to adjust it. So that's sort of our 3-step breakdown on how we initially look at a game. 90th percentile score, developing a strategy on how, you know, we're going to achieve that score as easily, as efficiently, as safely as possible, assuming we're the only robot on our alliance that's working, and then going back and revising that textbook strategy to make sure we actually have the resources to do it.
Thanks, Sean. That's great. And just before Corey steps in, I'm going to remind the listeners that I'm watching the control panel here, which identifies for me the amount of teams or individuals that are submitting questions, so text-based questions. So listeners, please don't hesitate to type in your questions or use the hand-raising button, which will allow you to present your question in oral fashion. So I know that people are going to want to ask Corey and Sean questions at the end of this. We only have 11 minutes left for their segment, so let's get those questions in. Go ahead, guys.
Okay, I agree with Sean about all those points that he made. It's very important to try to predict what a winning score would be, or at least what you think the maximum score that three robots playing the game could achieve. The one thing that I would like to add to it is that when you're trying to calculate a consistent score your robot can pick up, we looked at, for instance, the autonomous period, which was the first 15 seconds, versus the climb, which obviously would be done at the end of the match. We decided that in autonomous period, as long as our robot performed successfully, it could consistently score the same amount of points as a robot that could do an average climb without a dump. So that's where we had determined that we were going to put more resources and time into having a floor pickup to be able to score an autonomous, because it's a big boost to leave the autonomous mode with a lead than to have to claw it back towards the end when stress levels get higher. So obviously, like when you're trying to get to the pyramid to climb, a team can play defense on you, versus at the beginning of the game when they're not allowed past the center line. So we decided, our team early on, that we were going to invest the time making sure that we had a really good autonomous mode, because that 15 seconds is there for a reason. So we want to make sure that we utilized it all.
Corey, I was wondering if we might be able to share sort of what our competition experience was now that we've covered our build seasons pretty well and what our thought process was. But I remember we competed at a first week regional, and you know, I'm not speaking on behalf of my entire team, but I know I actually like competing at first week regionals because, you know, not all the teams are running at full speed quite at that point. They tend to be, you know, a little bit, for lack of a better term, easier. I tend to believe that 610 is a team that's pretty quick out of the gate. But there's some downsides to competing at first week as well, because you know, sometimes the field may not have all the kinks worked out. But our experience, we competed out in New Hampshire, and our strategy boys actually said something that was, I thought, pretty gutsy at the time. Turned out that they were correct, but they walked into that regional saying, all right, we think because it's a first week regional, we think we can go in there and have a really good shot at winning if we do nothing but cycle discs. So drive back to the feeder station, load 4, drive to the pyramid, shoot 4, rinse, or lather, rinse, repeat, and then go in for the 10-point hang. Now, what's kind of funny is, you know, in hindsight, that sounds pretty reasonable. That's actually precisely what ended up happening. But making a statement like that actually made us really, really nervous. And I think a lot of younger teams, you know, they feel the same way. They think that this game is going to be played at a really, really high level. You're going to go to your first competition, and you're going to see robots which can do everything. They can pick up off the ground, load from the feeder station, shoot at the pyramid, climb up to the 30-point pyramid right at the top, and dump 4 discs. I'm not sure where you stand or what your first regional experience was, or if you prefer competing earlier versus later, but have you got any perspective on that, Corey?
I think they have pros and cons to both, because this year we've already signed up for the GTR West first week regional. So we obviously don't have a problem with wanting to go to a regional such as that. But I think for a team that maybe doesn't have the experience watching a regional on like a webcast or something to get a perspective of how the game is being played, it gives them maybe an idea of how they should play when they go to their regional, especially teams that maybe are only going to select one regional to go to. So this year, absolutely, I agree with your points about we feel like we're going to have a strong strategy in place to get a high score. So we're going to go to the first week regional, and we hope to do a couple others as well. So, but definitely we like to watch to see what's happening at other regionals, because it was quite across the board. Like I think first week it was cyclers that were doing the best, and then it seemed like as it went on a little bit, it then went to full court shooting, that if you had a really good full court shooter, that was definitely getting you into the finals at least. So it's interesting how it changes over the actual competition season and in the world itself.
So Corey, it sounds like what you're saying, if you're not competing first week, you should at least be watching other regionals first week. And I think by the end of the webinar tonight, we'll post some links on where you can get the webcast address so that these teams will know to go and watch these other videos. But we do have a few questions I'd like to pose to you now. And I'd like to begin with Sean. We have a question that says, how did 610 decide between continuing to work on the floor pickup versus continuing to work on the full court shot?
Oh, that's an easy one. Very, very easy one. So for those of you who don't know, after our first regional, where at BAE that we won just by cycling and 10-point hanging, we told ourselves, well, that's probably not going to cut it at a week 4 regional, which is Waterloo. Teams improved dramatically from week to week, and so we expected the level of competition at Waterloo to be much higher. Also, it was in a Canadian regional, which, you know, the skill level up here is pretty good. But in terms of making that decision on, we put an intake on our robot and then we ended up ripping it right off. We never got it dialed in, and the reason why we never got that intake dialed in is because we don't have a practice robot. 610, a lot of people are surprised when, you know, we tell them this, but we don't build a whole second robot that's basically identical to our competition robot that we hold back and practice with. We focus all of our energy and our resources into just the one robot, and that I'd say it limits the amount of work that we can do in between competitions. We can't tweak our autonomous, we can't tweak another intake, but it changes our perspective. We generally try and build the best robot we can for the first regional and sort of call it good from there. The improvements after that first regional, historically for our team at least, has been pretty minimal. And so we did have an extra shooter, however, which was kind of our backup shooter in case it broke. We did take that back to our lab, and we felt that if we just put that on a static stand and just shot it in our practice facility, we could dial in the full court shooter for the most part. But even then, in hindsight, the full court shooter, I don't know if the work we put into that, you know, ultimately made a huge difference. We didn't end up using it that much. Maybe the fact that we could do it ended up being a bit of a threat, and people were wary of it. But that's the answer to that question. But really interesting question.
Oh, that's great, Sean. Thanks for that. Another question, going, I believe, back to you. And this question is presented by Gregory. So thank you, Greg, for this question. When did you realize that you were going to give up on the 30-point climb? When did you stop iterating or stop trying to lose the weight?
Well,
as in what was said by 1241.
If you ask our student leads for the climbing mechanism on when they gave up, the answer is probably never. I mean, you'd probably be very surprised that if you walked into our lab right now, right underneath our main work table, we've got that 30-point climber, which those guys, you know, probably feel was pretty close, but never quite good enough. You know, would it be possible for our robot to get to the top of that pyramid? Yes, but it probably would have taken a good 1 minute to do it. And quite honestly, the question went back to our strategy guys. Well, you know what? If we are going to score more points in that 1 minute, just continuing to cycle and putting the 10-point hang, then the numbers say that we should just continue to cycle in 10-point hang. So it's a pretty crushing question, or rather crushing decision for those guys. And, you know, I have to say, the guys who worked on our climber are some of our best, most dedicated guys, put in the most hours. And I feel for them, but you know, I guess the exact make it or break it point would have been literally the day that we packed the robot. And when the 30-point climber mechanism didn't go on there, I'd say that was truly the make or break point where we knew that we weren't going to be 30-point climbing.
Excellent, and thanks, Sean. I see another question by Ellie, and the question is, what are the tips for first-year chairman's presentations? And I'm going to say that we should leave this presentation until the next webinar, or this question, because that's going to be a full webinar dedicated to the chairman's approach. And Ali, you'll find out that typically first-year teams will not do chairman's presentations because they don't qualify for it, but it is a good practice for teams to develop the key insights into how they do when a chairman's. So Sean and Corey, your time is just about up. I think you wanted to end with a partial video of the World Championship. Would you like to do that, or would you like to say something for the next 30 seconds?
I think that'd be a cool way to end it off, just to show what it is like to experience Einstein final. It was certainly a very exciting match. This is the second match, which forced the rubber match. So I think that the viewers would like to see this instead of listening to us talk. So
yeah, and can I just set it up very quickly? You know, we secretly had a double full court shooting alliance. Both 1241 and 610 could do it. And once we got onto Einstein, we basically said, you know, we're not going to try that strategy. We're just going to continue to cycle. We did the math. We said there's only 12 cycles worth of discs. If 1241 can do 5, if 610 can do 5, and if 1477 can do 2 more, we will have shot every single disc at a high percentage, and there's no way a full court shooter can beat us unless they're going to shoot an even higher percentage than us. And so it was kind of an interesting strategy. No one thought that 3 cyclers could beat a full court shooter, sort of left unprotected, but I guess this is a match that I guess goes to show that it was possible, at least at the World Championships. And our alliance is, of course, the alliance in blue. And 1241 is the blue robot closer to the top. 610 is at the bottom. And our friends from Texas Court, have just completed the 7-disc autonomous. We're close to it.
Sean, for teams that want to watch this in full action because of the lagging, this is a YouTube video, or is this something that you posted?
This is a YouTube video, and if you just do a search for Team 610, it is on our channel, and we do have all of the matches, I believe, that we played at the World Championships. And so this would have been Einstein match number 2. And sorry if it's lagging. Do you want me to stop this, John?
No, I think it's good for the teams to get a good sense of what the action is like and how 3 teams can work together.
you can see on the Red Alliance, the full court shooter, how the accuracy is quite high. But as we were saying about that percentage, we felt like as long as we were able to cycle that number of cycles, as long as one alliance partner played some sort of defense or were to starve them of discs, if you look at the floor, that kind of tells you the story how our accuracy was slightly higher, and that's how we were able to just stay ahead in the score of this match.
Yeah, and I remember that quote distinctly. It was, you know, if you have two really good teams or two really good alliances, and if they're both going to shoot all the discs, all you need to do is look at how many discs are still on the floor, and that can tell you right away who's won the match. So at this stage, we've got a few on the floor on our side, but they've still got a lot more on their side. Plus, our partner, 1477, has gone and stolen a lot of the opponent's discs from their side and scored them in our net. So.
Well, that's great, Sean and Corey. I want to take this moment to thank both of you for taking the time to prepare for the webinar and to share your expertise and insights with the teams across Ontario and Canada, for that matter. Hopefully, teams will have learned and gained some insight from this, and perhaps someday just communicate or contact your teams to see if there's anything they could do in terms of collaboration or to liaise with you. So again, thank you very much. We're going to have to move on to the next segment, and if anybody has additional questions, I'm not sure if Corey or Sean are able to hang around, but we can ask questions at the end at 8:35. I'm going to move this segment on as we prepare to bring the wonderful girls' school from St. Mildred's Lightbourne in Oakville to do their speech to you about the Symposium that they run every year. In addition to the fact that there's an expert parent mentor who's been involved for multiple years in FRC who is going to lead the rookies into a fabulous discussion about where you should be now and where you want to be going in the future. So let me pass it over to the two terrific people from St. Mildred's Lighthouse, or sorry, it's Ankita Sharma and Laura Lee. So go ahead.
Okay, hi. Thanks for sharing, Mr. Lemon Corey, for sharing your tips. Watching that match brought back so many emotions. My name is Ankita, and I am one of the co-captains of SWAT 771.
Hi, I'm Laura, and I'm the other co-captain.
We've been participating in the FRC program for 6 years now, and today we're just going to talk quickly about our event, Symposium, which is happening next Saturday, October the 5th from 9 till 4. This is our 4th year running Symposium, and it's a great day of interactive workshops for all different skill levels, guest speakers, and social activities. Some of the two speakers we're going to be having this year is Canada, and our closing speaker will be the Chief Education Officer at Kwanzaa. So it's bound to be a great event. It's a great learning experience. Teams from across Canada, as well as our good friends from the States, Girls of Steel, come up to present workshops. We actually have 12 different teams running workshops this year and 28 workshops, ranging from all different topics from business to building. I'm actually going to pass it off to Laura now, who's going to talk a little bit in more detail about the workshops.
So if you can see our document that we have up, what you can expect on that day is at 9 o'clock, everyone can arrive and try and aim to be here between 8:45 to 9 so we can get everyone registered and signed up for workshops if you don't already do so online beforehand. And then at 9:15 is our opening speaker Dave Ellis, and that should take us to about 10 o'clock. And then starting from there, we will have a break and snacks will be provided, but you are also free to bring your own snacks if you don't like Rice Krispie squares and juice boxes. At 9:10 to 9:50, 10:10 to 10:50, we have our first workshops where we have 10 short workshops in the morning as well as 4 long workshops. So we have all different tracks in the morning where if you are a parent, you can go to the parent involvement workshop that's run by 1241 and learn all about how to get involved as a parent. Or you could also go through the Junior FLL track, which there are 2 workshops run right back to back about Junior FLL. And there's so many other great ones, like one run by John Hobbins himself about district model, another one run from 610, another one from 1241 about VEX, as well as multiple different ones including programming in C++, scouting, SolidWorks, writing a business plan, all different workshops in the morning that anyone can attend, from rookie to being on the team for 20 years. So from there we have lunch at 11:40 till 12:40, and it's $5 for all-you-can-eat pizza, a cookie, and drink. As well, once we go into the afternoon, starting at 12:40 is our afternoon workshops. So we have the same number of afternoon workshops as in the morning, and in the afternoon we have different tracks as well. So the afternoon is mainly the rookie track, so you can go back-to-back workshops from 1241 and then to 4814 on how to run a rookie team. This afternoon we also have creating a brand, so you can go to the media workshop run by 771 and then go to the 3504 workshop about generating a strong team culture. So there are so many workshops being offered this year. It's an all-time high where we increased our workshop number by 30% compared to last year, which is phenomenal, and we are so happy that so many teams are coming together to plan all these workshops and share everyone's knowledge. And then after the afternoon workshops, we have a short break, and then
we have the closing speaker, Tom Lee, in the dining hall at 2:15. And then right after Tom Lee's done with his talk with us, we have cake and social. So we're going to be running some social games for everyone to get to know each other and form connections and networks for the coming season, as well as amazing cake that we love, and just a time for everyone to mingle and get to know everyone. Okay, John, go down to the link. Oh, and then FLL in the morning, we don't have as many FLL workshops this year, but we do have 3 programming workshops. So you can start right in the morning with the basics and then go right until the afternoon with the advanced workshops.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about how you can be involved in Symposium and sign up. Attached are a few, well, up on your screen are a few links. The first one is the agenda and a list of all the workshops and their descriptions for FRC. The second one that's under signups is where it's a Google Doc, and you can go up and go on that link and sign up for your workshop. The workshops are actually filling up quite quickly, so I would advise you to sign up as soon as possible so you can get into the workshop that you want to go to. And then the next 2 links, the next link is a sign up for, an agenda and list of workshops for FLL. Some other links on that page are our website, our Twitter, our Facebook, and the First Robotics Canada website. Yeah, we really advise you guys to sign up early because our workshops are filling up really quickly. Just a reminder of the dates for Symposium. It is next Saturday, October the 5th, from 9 to 4, and it's taking place at our school, which is located at 1080 Limbrook Road. The fastest way to get there is the QEW, and you can take the Trafalgar Road south exit from the QEW.
So are there any questions about the event that anyone has or would like more details on a certain aspect?
I would just like to add a couple of things if I could. I want to thank you two for a very informative blurb there on this, what we've come to know, a fantastic symposium with a history of offering excellent and informative sessions that benefit all teams, whether you're a veteran or a rookie team. And the idea of the selection of outstanding workshops that are available. I'm not sure how you guys are able to do this year after year, but it's certainly, we all benefit from it. And I think by talking to you and some of your mentor leads at your school, I heard that other teams could talk to you about them getting involved for next year to expand the workshops even more, or that 771 would be happy to mentor other schools or teams in delivering their own workshops in their communities. And I think that that is just fantastic. One thing that I know some rookies have asked me, is there a cost for the symposium? And what are the number of kids or adults that could attend?
So for the cost of Symposium, it is absolutely free, except for the lunch.
Which is only $5 for unlimited pizza.
And we really feel like this event should have no cost because knowledge is something that everyone should have. And we really want to put it forward to anyone in the FIRST community. Come out, learn, get ready for the new season. So it's absolutely free.
In terms of how many people coming, last year we had about 200 to 300 people. And this year, because we've expanded our number of workshops, we can definitely accommodate up to 500 people.
So if any team is worried about limiting the number of people that they're bringing or how many people should we bring as many as you would like. Just a lot of teams in the past have rented buses for the day, just get them from their school to the event and back. So we welcome however many people that you would like to bring. And although on that note, I would like to say that for FLL, that if coaches are planning on bringing the FLL team members, they should be aware that they have to have supervision over these FLL members throughout day.
Yeah, the event is definitely geared more to FRC members, but we definitely encourage FLL kids to come as well, and their mentors.
That's great. Thanks to both of you. I wonder, Sean Lim had an opportunity to share a little bit about 610 and what their school, it being an all-boys school. But I know you guys personally, and I know what a fantastic school St. Mildred's is. And I wonder if you could just share with the rest of us, because there will be a lot of people on this webinar that don't really know you. And could you just tell us a little bit about St. Mildred's as a team, your history, and what your experience has been over the years?
Okay, so we are actually an all-girls team. We are the oldest all-girls team in Canada, and we were established in 2002.
So back in 2002, one of our founding mentors, it was the first year that first robotics was in Canada, and one of our girls said, "Hey, do you want to start a team?" So ever since then, we have had a team, and we are the oldest girls team in Canada, and we're really proud about that.
Also, just in terms of how the program has expanded in our school, our first robotics team is our largest team at our school, which we're really proud of. We also have a first-based program in every grade level from our school, from grade 1 all the way till grade 12. And through this, every student who goes to our school has an opportunity to be part of robotics, no matter if they join the team or not, which is great because some girls don't know that they like engineering when they actually are born to be engineers. So even though SWAT 771 is for grade 8 to 12 at our school, we personally think that SWAT is from our little preschool kids to our grads, because they all are exposed to an FRC program.
What's great is that our team actually has people that aren't high school students on our team as well, where we actually start in grade 8, so you get 5 years on the team. And Keaton and I had actually started in grade 7, so we've had 6 years on the team. And through this, I cannot imagine my life without robotics.
Me neither.
Where I have grown up with it through the school so much that my SWAT is not my team anymore. It's truly my family, and Kita isn't just my co-captain or my team member. She truly is my sister now.
Well, it sounds like you guys have had a terrific experience with your time on the team, and to some degree I think you're being a little bit modest, because I know that 771 is one of the favorite teams in all of Canada and perhaps all of the world, and you know, there's a lot of new people listening, so tell us a bit about, you've been to Worlds multiple times. You've been, I think, multiple-time chairman winners, and you've won probably every award that you can win. You guys are just amazing, and it's important for these other schools and these other teams to know that you can go in and you could build from the beginning and build this fantastic team that, most importantly, is going to change the lives of all the kids.
Yeah, I definitely think that like my first year on the team, we only had 12 girls, and now it's my last year on the team, and there's about 50. So all the new teams out there, just hang in there. Your program will expand, and just keep powering through. It's a great experience.
Yeah, it's also great that we don't just inspire the girls on our team, we inspire everyone around us, where in the past we have worked with children who are deaf, who have learning disabilities, who are blind. It's those moments when you're working with them that truly empowers you. And one of our favorite stories is at the Calgary Regional this past year. We met this boy, the one-man team, Herman, and he's one of the most inspiring stories that we have on this team, because we were able to see tangibly the effect that we have on other people.
Yeah, we definitely encourage other teams to go out and do outreach and have a mission of who you want to reach. One of the things that we try to do is we try and target underrepresented groups in STEM. But all of our outreach is definitely like a highlight of the program.
Well, that's great. I want to thank both of you. We're just about to transition into the last segment, but I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you if you could hang around to the end at 8:30, and perhaps we could post your email access for some of the students or kids, teenagers that are out there that might want to learn a little bit more about your story and how you got involved, and why should I get involved? Tell me why it made a difference for you that would help me realize this is something that's really going to change my life. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks again to both of you. It's been wonderful. And
yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we're going to move on now to the rookie portion of the webinar. As you can see, it's a jam-packed webinar tonight. We have with us Artie Javeri, who is, I guess, 7 years plus with one of the major teams, and share some insights about, as a rookie team, where are you now, where should you be, and where do you want to be tomorrow as you prepare for this coming season. So welcome, Artie.
Thank you, John. Hi, everyone. I'm Artie Javeri, and as you've already seen, I'm a parent for, I'm a parent mentor on Team 1241. I have two kids, one that has graduated from the program and who's doing his second year in university this year, and my daughter who's currently in grade 10 that has had the opportunity to be exposed to robotics, just like Laura and Ankita were saying, since grade 7. So I'm very excited with the program. It's almost family now to me. Right now, I'm working with 1241 as part of their leadership team and been actively part of the program, just trying to maintain and mentor kids in the areas of communications, marketing, processes, organization, outreach activities, and they expand from in-school to business and the city. So what I have here is just a couple of slides, and it's really high level at this point to be able to just give you a high overview of where you should be in the process now as a rookie team, and what you should be doing now the next couple of months before getting into build season, and then what you're going to be looking at during the build season and beyond.
And Artie,
the next slide.
I think it's important for them to know that you're going to be presenting at the Symposium on October 5th, and you're going to cover a detailed insight into the year of robotics for rookie teams, and also stretching that to perhaps for veteran teams, because you're going to talk about everything that a team that's been a veteran, what they do, and you're going to try to put it in perspective of what a rookie team would want to know and how to move forward. So I think it's great for people to hear you speak tonight and to show them what you've got, but to also know that October 5th at the Symposium offers just another outstanding workshop.
Yeah, and we will probably, I know 771 always posts the Symposium documentation, so it'll always be available later on as well for any team that needs that in the future. All right, so now for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I guess for the rookie teams that are on the call today, the next 2 to 3 weeks is basically focused around, or should be focused around organization, creating your student team. I think most teams probably have a student group that are interested in joining the team right now. So thinking about how you're going to create that structure, and then the timeline. And we'll actually talk a little bit more about it as we go into the next slides. So basic points is organize the team, and then think about what you're going to do from now until December, and prepare kind of a timeline of all the activities that you should be doing prior to the build season. So if you go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about the team organization piece. Okay, so just like any organization, first is very similar to a small business, or very much like a business, and work has to be filtered through a structure, or kind of a hierarchy almost. It is too much for one person to do everything, and so you kind of want to have some sort of structure to be able to manage some of the work that you're going to be doing within the team. What you're seeing here is you can divide your team in various different aspects, but what we've seen is a successful way of doing this is having a design team, a mechanical team, a controls team, and then you've got the business or the management side of the team. What we've also realized through past history, a major success factor in growing your team, or in ensuring that things get done in the team, or is basically having a lead student, a teacher, and a mentor in any of these groups. That just makes these teams stronger in terms of being able to deliver some of the deliverables in each of these areas and making sure that you meet your milestones and your timelines as you move from group to group.
Artie, now as I look at this slide here, I see a breakdown with the mechanical, design, programming, and electrical, and then I see this island of management. And I guess sometimes graphics could be misleading because management really has the main thrust and the core work in terms of project management to make sure the team is able to move forward and achieve all their goals.
Right. So what you see here on the left is probably from the mechanical to the electrical piece is basically the robot side of the program, which is mainly responsible for the mechanical, the design, the build of the robot. These teams actually make the robot do what it's supposed to do based on the manual for each year or the game for each year. What you see in the management piece of the business side, what we call is it may often be overlooked by teams, but it's got a huge, it can play a huge part in your sustainment of your program. So you should not probably overlook it and neglect it. This section of the team allows the engineering side of the team to function. So it's kind of almost a support structure for the team. It's a great opportunity for students to get exposed in that area. What you have under management is probably most of your outreach, which you've already heard a lot about from Laura and Ankita, where they talked a lot of the importance of the outreach program and building students, exposing various levels of students in the team and outside in your communities to the FIRST program and to different aspects of science and technology. The other pieces are promotions, marketing, finance, digital media, website design, fundraising, publicity for your team, for your team, making sure you have all your documentation ready for each of these teams. It's basically a support structure, and that really carries most of the heavy weight on the for the whole team. This team typically would design logos. You would do it obviously with the whole team, but a lot of the structure around various aspects of doing this would be team logos, literature, anything that would help the team establish a brand is what this team would be in charge of doing. Like I mentioned, fundraising, making sure that you have enough finances to be able to operate the team. Website, that's one of the very critical pieces of communications these days, so making sure that you do have a website that you can publicize your information. You can have it for not just for your own team, but also maybe for the public. You can also post your team information, your student data. Again, all of this encompasses, like I said, the support system or the structure of the team. So it's just more than just a robot or building a robot. It's much more than just building a robot.
Yeah, and Artie, I'm going to just add in that as a fellow who's been a lead mentor on a team for approximately 12 years, for some of the people that are listening in the audience, the idea of mechanical, everything to do with building the robot and the resources that I need to make that robot, the extra parts and making sure I get on the first choice website during the kickoff and so on, that's all very important. And then we get into design, and as Sean and Corey were leading to, making those strategic decisions to make sure that you don't overwhelm your team according to what resources and abilities you have. And then there's programming, and maybe some people are a little confused about electrical and programming because perhaps 35 years ago I might have thought that those were the same thing, but we know that they're not. And there's dedicated programmers on a robotics team, and the electrical people have a key role all the way down from the intricate, the wiring that goes on, all the way down to simply putting a charged battery onto the robot. So go ahead, Artie.
Right, and then you also have a huge piece that you'll, as you get into the season, you'll see the awards piece. That's huge. Again, that can be looked after the management areas. The awards piece is where the team can apply for awards. Be it, there are a whole bunch of awards that are available for rookies in their first year. Most of the management area, the students in the management area can typically help out with the awards. They can write up the essays, present
November.
organizational piece, you don't.
I'm sorry, Artie, I was just jumping in there for a second because we lost your transmission. But you mentioned, you're talking about awards and the important piece on that, and for everybody to understand, to gain an insight into what are judges thinking and how do they make their decisions. And the tip I want to share with people that in the November webinar is going to be focused on judges and judges' optics and perceptions of teams and how they make their decisions. So I just want to put a plug in for that for people to stay tuned for that webinar.
Right. So I guess if you, the basic idea for any rookie team is what you've got to think about is keep it simple. Get to know where what students are what students like to do in the team. Try to kind of have an organizational structure that will help you, guide you, and through your build season and through the entire season, and will help you actually move along. We can move into the timeline, which is the next piece. So once you've got your organizational set up, I think the next piece, the big piece, is the timeline and ensuring that you're doing the things at the right time, specifically because with FIRST, it is you do have a deadline for almost every item in the program. You have your awards deadline, you have the ship date, which is the robot deadline, you have a lot of different milestones that if you do, you have to have time management to be able to ensure that you actually complete the whole program within the time frame, and for that to build a timeline, to have your milestones, to have your deadlines in front of you and in front of the team is very essential. Typically what you would do from now until December is almost like the planning, the organizational phase, and what I've listed there on the left of the screen is some of the items that the team can do now, the students can get involved now, is planning for the team, getting your team organizational structure in place, looking for sponsorships, having events to bring in awareness that you're a rookie team. You want to be able to do these things and build some sponsorship efforts around that to be able to gain sponsorship. Mentor team alignments. It's very critical that once you've got your mentor team set up and you know who your mentor team is, that you actually have regular meetings with them to understand how this mentorship partnership will work. How many times are you going to meet with them? What is the different levels of mentorship that you can get from them, and be able to have meetings with them regularly to ensure that the students are gaining maximum from the mentors. And that, when I say that, I mean the mentor team that you're going to be assigned to eventually by FIRST. Usually, typically, mentor teams also have workshops. Design, mechanical, you'll be going through different various trainings. That typically comes out from your mentor team, or they can be informal sessions, be structured sessions, but get your tips from the mentor team to see what kind of workshops are available, what kind of learning is available, and then align that with them so that you're able to achieve that during the time frame that they are doing their workshops. The other piece is administration, outreach, and prepare for bills. So administration is really making sure you've got your budget outlined, you know what competitions you're going to, you've got your team, you've got your team gear and all of the different elements in terms of your logos, your banners. You've got sort of a budget structured around these elements. You don't need to have a whole lot in your first year, but enough that you're able to sustain for the first year. Make sure that you have some kind of budget, that the students prepare a small budget to be able to move forward through the year, and that you also present that, the students get an opportunity to present that as well in their pits. The other community outreach, which I know Ankita and Laura stressed on as well, like that, this is huge. If people want to, if students want to be able to reach out to your communities, reach out to other FIRST teams, reach out to libraries in the community, smaller kids, FLL, junior FLL, we were talking about elementary schools, and bring out just to, you can all, the most simplest thing that you can do is bring in your mentor team, see how you can work with them to be able to bring that outreach out into the community. You don't need to have a big program, but even just doing a small educational session with junior students or with an elementary school can help in bringing that awareness and develop your students as speakers and presenters for the future. And the last part is really preparing for the build. So there are a lot of elements when we talk further in the next few slides, you'll see there are different elements that you'll have to do to prepare for the build. You'll have to have a build season timeline. The timeline would actually encompass the different elements of design, build, programming, testing, and practicing. So you'll have to kind of, in the 6 weeks, you'll have to actually make sure that you meet those different weekly deadlines or milestones throughout the week, and that the build season timeline can be worked out again with your mentor team to make sure that you're aligned with
Artie,
them and you're working with them.
Artie, let me just jump in for a second. You've covered a lot of material, and in that segment prior to the build, there's quite a bit of good information there, so thank you for that. I just wonder if I could just make a few points for the audience. That the mentor team alignment, many of the rookie teams may not know this, but very shortly over the next couple weeks, you will be assigned a veteran team who has been through this process multiple times and can offer you a tremendous amount of insights, mentorship, and so on, and support, and sometimes offering to bring you to their school or some of their mentors to come to your school to help you out. So stay tuned for that, and make sure that you know and you're aware that First Canada is going to make sure that there's a lot of support out there for you. And we know how important administration is, but the community outreach piece, I know that a lot of teams, probably rookie teams, feel that they have their hands full already. Like, what is it? Wow, what am I going to do in my own school? And I can tell you that the best thing to do is to get hooked up with either your mentor team, or in addition to the mentor team, communicate electronically with other good teams that are out there that are happy to talk to you. And if there's any mentors listening, what I'm talking about is this is to be downloaded to the students, and let the students connect and collaborate with the other teams across Ontario and North America. And I see already on this timeline here that's been, I think, an exceptional graphic for the rookie teams to look at. It talks about January 4th as being the kickoff and how important it is to be at the Science Center. And we've already alluded to that there's only 3 veterans that can go to the Science Center, and that includes the coach or the mentor or the teacher or the parent, 3 in total, and 5 for the rookie teams. And at that kickoff, you're going to be able to pick up your inventory kit, the robot kit itself, which usually consists of 2 of those big plastic tote bins and perhaps one small box or something. But I just want to highlight that after the kickoff is the quick build, again, which is hosted by the Superstar Team 610 at Crescent School on Bayview Street, just south of the 401 in Toronto. And now, Artie, I'll pass it back to you. You've talked about the build season and the importance of preparing for February 18th, which is the stop date or the ship date where that robot gets stuck into this big bag. And just before I release, I want to tell you one more thing that I will bet nobody has picked up yet, but the GTR West, ladies and gentlemen, look at the date, February 28th to the 2nd. I'll bet you didn't realize that that tournament runs Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So make sure you mark your calendars Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the teams that are attending. And just a little bit of an alert from First Canada, we're going to ask that teams that are not attending that tournament to do their very best to watch the tournament on a webcast rather than physically attend, because we're going to be limited for space, and 610 is going to ensure that we are maximizing the exposure and the access to all the teams that are actually attending the event so that they can get first-hand view of the excitement that occurs there. So go ahead, Artie, I'll pass it back to you.
Right, thank you. So I guess after the build season, and you've seen this, we talked a little bit about the build season, we'll go more into detail. But what I was trying to show on this timeline is basically on the left you have your pre-build, the pre-season and the build season, and then on the right you can see the program awareness and basically the continuation and rebuilding of the team for next year. Again, it can be as simple and as detailed as you want it to be. The idea is to be able to follow it through the team, through the season, that the team can understand it and be able to reach those milestones as you go. Maybe we can talk about the next slide. I think the program awareness piece is just about how you can rebuild the team for the next year in terms of preparedness. So
All right, so
next steps prior to December.
Next steps prior to December, which you did talk about a fair bit, and these are some of the key points about some teams. Most teams tonight listening have probably registered, but I know that there are some that have not registered yet. And registration is that two-step process where you go in, you get a temporary rookie team number, and then you register for a competition, which gives you your 4-digit official team number that you will have for the rest of the life of that team. It's very important here. I noticed you mentioned about the parent meetings. It's so valuable to have the parents involved and to have them play a significant role in the structure and the development and the forward movement of this team. Budget, we all know how important a budget is, so I'm going to just leave that one. Here's the key one here. It says create a team guidelines or a code of conduct. Artie, I would say that probably for a lot of new teams, they're probably struggling to figure out how will I ever get to creating a set of guidelines when I'm so busy with everything else. But I'm going to take a risk here and say that I know that 1241 and other teams already have documentation. It's probably many teams have posted this type of documentation on chiefdelphi.com, and you can see that in the second part of the right side of this slide under student action, where you're suggesting that students and anybody involved with this team visit those 3 key websites, the First Robotics Canada, usfirst.org, and Chief Delphi. So ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are new, Chief Delphi is the #1 discussion forum in the world for robotics. And not only the discussion forum, but they post numerous white papers on how to do everything under the sun. That's a very, very important area to make sure that you investigate. And as we see on the bottom of this slide, scheduling time for mentor workshops, if that's something that you're able to fit in. But more importantly is meeting with your mentor team. And this is going to, you're going to receive communications from me, rookie teams, over the next week about who could possibly be assigned to you as a mentor team. And it's very, very important that you take a proactive step in reaching out to the mentor team. And those mentor teams are also encouraged to make sure that they reach out to you and they check in on a day-by-day basis during the build season and perhaps a weekly basis from now until that build season begins. Artie, go ahead.
Right, so I think you covered a lot about on the slide here in terms of what the next steps are. Prior to December, I think the focus should be just around making sure you can organize your team, make sure you have, like we said here, meet with your mentor team when you're assigned that. Students, when they are formed, register onto STIMs. That's really important before going to any competition. You require that, and the earlier you do it, you save time on getting that done later. You should review the team rules and the game rules when they come out in January, so that's a big one that you need to review as soon as that comes out. So you can go to the next
Artie,
slide.
you mentioned STIMs on there, and I just want to draw the rookie team's attention to that. I know that when they've gone in so far and to initially register their team, they go to the TIMS portion, which is the Team Information Management System. And once that is set up, there must be a lead student on the team who has access, and they go into the student team information management system. And this is a critical step because I know many, many veteran teams leave a lot of this area to the last minute, and then there's this massive rush, and we need to encourage the teams to get in, populate that website with every piece of information possible so that they're up to date and they don't have to worry about that during the build season. And I'm just going to say I don't see any questions to this point, so I need to flood us with some questions regarding the rookie process and what's ahead for the rookie teams, where they should be going, and perhaps some key questions that you might want to ask Artie, who's been involved for quite some time. What are some of the hurdles that she has encountered and so on. And if I'm surprised that Christine hasn't told us this yet, but ladies and gentlemen, there is always a prize for the people that ask the highest number of questions on these websites. So I just wanted to pass that off to you so that you know that that does exist. So go ahead, Artie. I'll let you continue now.
Just another point on the STIMs is once the students register, I think there is a parent approval required as well. So that could take a while sometimes, just depending on the team structure. So you might want to definitely do that as soon as possible. Okay, if you can go to the next slide. It just talks a little bit more about, yeah, the screen hasn't refreshed.
Yeah, and Artie, I'm going to suggest that we leave the rest of these slides for people to investigate at the symposium that's coming up in a week and a half from now, and to be able to have an opportunity to speak face-to-face with you. Perhaps myself, I may be able to join you for part of that, and anyone else that's delivering that workshop. But I know you're going to have some key insights to share with people, and I do see a question that has come up here, but it relates to the GTR, so I'm going to defer that question to the end because it's not specific to the rookies in the rookie workshop. So, Artie, do you have any wrap-up comments that you would like to say to the audience regarding the rookie teams and what is darn well important for them to know?
I think I'm hoping that your team has already been selected or you've already got a couple of students there. I just want to say don't restrict your team to techies. There are a lot of different skill sets that are required in a team to be successful with FIRST. A lot of management communications, like I said, digital media students are required. So, try and recruit as many students on those areas as well. Try and have frequent information sessions with the team so that they're educated about the program and know what's going on within the team. And what we've actually learned from 1241 is frequent meetings, parent frequent meetings to understand and build, bridge that gap between the program and the students' expectations on the program helps a lot, as well as making sure that you actually do program management throughout the program. So you do have a timeline, you do have a structure, and you actually are able to follow that, and the students are able to lead that through the whole season is very critical for the success of the team.
Artie, it just dawned on me that we have one of the superstar rookies on this webinar tonight from last year who won tremendous success throughout the year and went to the World Championship. So I'm going to ask Christine if she could come on and just share with the audience any 1, 2, or 3 tips that she learned from the experience last year being a rookie team. And of course, Christine's going to speak about all those positive things that she learned throughout the year.
Nothing like putting me on the spot, eh?
Exactly.
What did I learn? Ask for help.
Yeah, Christine, I want to buy time for these people to send more questions, and I see one just came in, so that's terrific. So go ahead, Christine.
No, ask for help, ask for help, ask for help. Don't be shy. Everybody's more than willing to help. If you don't find an answer, ask somebody else or ask John. He'll point you in a direction. I think that's by far the most valuable thing that I learned, and the biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone. You've got mentor teams in place, utilize them. You have teams perhaps that are close to you geographically that can help you if you're missing a part or something breaks or you don't know how something works. Take advantage of every one of those opportunities.
Yeah, Christine, you know what? You've highlighted a key point there. I know for me, with all the amount of teams that, not just in this role as a FIRST director for FIRST Robotics, but also as a mentor on the FRC team where we've helped, mentor dozens of FRC teams, the biggest problem, the #1 hurdle, is the reluctance of the team to ask for the help. And they'll let time slip away, and boy, you sure can hear that clock ticking during the 6-week build period where 1 day's lost, then 2 days lost, and 3 days are lost. And when you get to those last couple of days, just like the students studying for an exam when they wish they had 1 hour more to study or 2 more days to study. So that's a terrific point to bring up, and thanks for that. I do see a question here coming in. It says, what's a realistic budget, from Chris, for a rookie team? And that's a pretty open-ended question because I could guess I don't know how much money Christine spent last year. I know what I spent the first year as a rookie team. What I can say is you have to get registered for a tournament, and you have to you get the robot kit with that registration. And this year, that cost is $6,000. Now, as a rookie team, the cost is offset by First Canada giving you $1,000, or sorry, $5,000, and you're well on your way. What I do tell teams that above and beyond the basic minimum of what you would do or need, somewhere of about $1,000 to perhaps $2,000 more, depending on how much you're going to go into team image, team uniforms, and so on, that is going to cost you extra dollars. And of course, that's why it's very important to make sure you register for the regional that's in your local geographical area, so you minimize travel costs to go to that regional, because going from from Toronto to somewhere far away, if it incurs the cost of a hotel, you've just skyrocketed your expenses for the year. So you need to be very careful how you strategically plan which regional you go into. All right, so what I'm going to do, we have, I think Sean Lim from 610 has agreed to stay, and I'm hoping the Superstar girls from 771 are still around, and I know Artie's there. So I'm going to ask the audience if they have any last-minute questions that they want to pose here before we wrap things up. And Sean, Artie, 771, if you guys want to just add anything in right now, you go ahead. All right then, so nobody's jumped in, so that gives me an opportunity to talk some more. So if you, wow, okay, so if you can, yeah, I'm still going to say what I've got to say now. If you weren't listening, you may not know what the big topic is for the next webinar on October 24th, which is a Thursday, which happens to be 4 weeks from today. You don't want to miss that one. Karthik from Team 1114 is a superstar, and he knows inside out, and so does his team, what it takes to build a World Chairman's Champion. And I know there's a lot of teams out there in Canada right now that want to be the champions this year, and somebody next year, and somebody the year after, because we know that Canada is a force to be reckoned with. So go ahead, who wants to jump in?
Hi, it's Laura from 771. Sorry, we just wanted to make a quick announcement where just actually in the past half hour since we talked to you guys, unfortunately Symbotics has had to withdraw their workshops at Symposium this year. So we just wanted to announce that quickly right now. There have been some changes to the schedule which will be going up later tonight, and instead there has been a new workshop put in place to help take one of those withdrawn workshops, but which is Vex in the Classroom. Just check the schedule later on tonight for the updated version.
Great, and thanks for that. I think that was Laura. So although we've made there's a bit of a loss by not having 1114 do the chairmans at the symposium, the good news is it allows somebody else to come in and to share their expertise and insights. And we're fortunate in the FRC community that 1114 will host the next webinar, and it's dedicated to chairmen. So that's going to be fantastic, and we're all going to be winners from that.
So John,
somebody did ask a
question. Questions here. Sorry, just wanted to draw your attention.
Go ahead, Christine.
No, there are a few questions if you want to have a look at them in the panel.
All right. Why don't you pose the questions to me, and I'll see what I can do to answer them.
Okay, well, let's start with this one on the symposium first then, seeing as they're still here. I'm confused about how to register for the symposium. Maybe you guys could just highlight that for us quickly again?
Great question. Very easy. So,
Yeah, we'll just share.
Yeah, can we share our screen?
Sure thing.
Perfect. So, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Wow, Oakville's pretty big.
Okay.
Not with the webcam.
Wait. What? I don't. What? Sorry, a lot of people in this room. So what you do is we will go along with you. So you just type in the link bit.ly/SWAT. It has to be uppercase. Posium 13 signups. The link will be posted on our website, Twitter, Facebook, everything. It might be posted here later. I'm not sure. So once we go there, you are at this Google spreadsheet. And here you can either sign up for 2 short morning workshops. Just put your name and team number down under the workshop you would like to go to. Some workshops do have a limit. For example, the first one, the 610 workflow, has a limit of 30 participants. We do this mainly so that it's more interaction between the presenter and the attendees, as well because our classrooms aren't that big.
So we encourage everyone to sign up as soon as possible to get into your workshop of your choice.
And there are a lot of workshops, so if you just scroll across, you will find that you can get from the first set of morning workshops to the second set of morning workshops, and then onto the long workshops in the morning, which you only sign up for one. So it's either 2 blue or 1 red. And then at the bottom of the screen, you can switch tabs into the afternoon. And from here, it's the same layout where you either sign up for 2 morning, so 2 blue,
Or 2 short.
2 short in the afternoon, so 2 blue or 1 long.
And FLL has its own tab as well, and you can sign up for those workshops under FLL.
None of the FLL workshops conflict, so you can just sign up for all of them if you want to. Any further confusion on that?
Chris, you're unmuted. Does that answer your question?
That looks excellent.
Yes.
So thanks again, girls. What a terrific insight on how to sign up. So
Okay, so
Christine,
more
you said
questions?
there were a couple more questions?
Yep.
Yes.
There's also a comment here. Just wanted to let everybody know that during the webinar, Waterloo is filled up. Mr. Lim, when do you plan on doing your alpha testing workshops?
Oh, that's a good question. We haven't set any dates yet, but they're looking to be in 2014. We're not going to be able to do one by the end of this year, unfortunately. But you'd be looking probably after build season, but before competition, possibly even doing a workshop at a competition. We still haven't quite worked that out yet, but we'll let everyone know as soon as we shore up a date. But unfortunately, not in 2013, but it will be in 2014, probably after build season.
Great. Next question. I'm not sure who to refer this one to, but in your opinion, how important is it to have a dedicated website for your team?
I'm wondering if Sean wants to reference that question, or 771.
I can.
Well, I guess I can share. I can share 610's experience with the website. We have one. It's team610.com. If you go to it, there's a kind of a base level amount of information. We'd obviously like to do a lot more with it, and it is being worked on. I think it's actually under construction currently. In terms of the operations of the team, it's not super important. I would say what's been a lot more important is setting up Google groups with email lists and finding a good project management software or website. We happen to use Trello. But I suppose there is an award for having a good, I guess, social media presence, which includes the website. So if you're gunning for that award, then I'd say a website's pretty critical. But for us, as of yet, I wouldn't say it's a huge priority for us. It's a little bit further down on the list.
Hi, this is Arthur. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
So yeah, I think I would probably say the same and agree with Sean. What we found is very more important is to have an internal communications tool, and we've used kind of Podio, which is again a tool that you can post documents to. It's very similar to Google Drive. It has it has a different interface. So internally, I guess if you have a tool that's communicating within the team so that you can keep track of things is even more critical. And if you're really wanting to go apply for the website award or aiming for those awards, then you need to focus your resources more towards that side.
And ironically, just to jump in on that one of the most important web-based things that I think the students have done is they've just created a Facebook group where everyone on the team has joined, and it turns out that's become one of the most effective ways to get information out to the members on your team. And basically that's something that's super critical, I'd say, for every single team. You need to have a way to get information out to every single member on that team. Ironically, email is no longer the preferred medium of choice. It's become the Facebook group. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Absolutely. Go ahead, 771.
Yeah, we also have a Facebook group, and it has similar response where it's very easy to reach other members of your team through Facebook.
It takes some getting used to on the student's perspective, seeing your teachers on Facebook so much, but it is the most effective way because we can see that you have seen our post, and we can easily put out polls like which regional do you want to go to this year. So everyone checks Facebook the most. No one really checks their email all that much. So we definitely agree with the whole Facebook group.
Sure. And I'll just add in from the teacher perspective for all the attendees that are listening that as a teacher, and of course I love all my students and all the people that I've worked with, but I still hold the position of making sure that I'm not on the Facebook in a social way with students until they graduate, but I do obviously post through the First Canada Facebook page. And the one thing that I'll say is that it is a terrific medium, and it seems to be growing exponentially in terms of its use. We're going to have to wrap up in a minute here or so. Christine, was there one or two other quick questions?
We have one last question.
And we'll be quick with it. Yeah.
It's for Mr. Lim as well. Mr. Lim, how important is it to use something like Zoho for your team? Is the traditional method just as effective, or things like Facebook, Google Groups can just be as effective, or can be just as?
Oh gosh, this is a great question. Christine, can I actually ask if you might be able to flip the presenter back over to me? And what I might be able to do is actually show everyone who's on the webinar what our current project management system looks like. And so, have I shown up, gentlemen and ladies?
Yes.
Okay.
That's you.
So this is me. This is Trello. It is free. And what we've done is we've used Trello. Let's see if I can pop open one here, which is good. Okay. So what I've instructed our boys is if they, at any point in time, just kind of determine that there's something that someone on the team needs to do, just to add an entry in Trello. And so we have Trello here, we have a whole bunch of major tasks, which are these larger gray boxes. So mentoring, Mr. John Hobbins, apparently we have to contact you to determine which rookie team we will be mentoring, and amongst many, many other things. But this is how we manage basically all the tasks that we need to do. And we have our particular team broken up into a series of sub-teams, just like Artie went over under the rookie presentation. But I can go ahead and I can filter these cards and say if I want to see all the business administration team tasks or all of the energy systems or strategy tasks, I can filter that way. And then you can also assign each of these tasks to the students and hold them accountable. And so we find a system like this to be really, really important for a number of reasons. The first one being it's a good way to keep track of what needs to get done, who's doing it, who's been assigned, deadlines, such and such. But another fringe benefit has been in terms of selecting the members for the team. We're in a situation where we had about 70 boys apply to be on our robotics team, but unfortunately we're only able to take about 40 of them for a number of different reasons, including the size of our workshop, etc. And so when it comes to sort of selecting which boys have demonstrated, a large contribution to the team. Having a project management system like this, where someone's been assigned a series of tasks last year and they've completed them, you can even pull up a report and say, oh, this particular student has checked off 30 tasks, whereas this one has only really checked off 2. If we only have one spot left on the team, who are we going to go with? And so project management system, in my opinion, has been maybe one of the single most important things that a team can put together and try and use diligently. And in fact, some of you might have noticed that we actually have a business administration sub-team. And these are more of the guys at our school who maybe one day want to get their MBAs or become upper management at a company. And they become our dedicated project managers, making sure that the entries are up to date on Trello. Every task has been assigned to both the sub-team and the people, and that the deadlines are being met. So highly, highly recommend it. Obviously, though, if you're a rookie team, you're going to need to figure out whether you can support a project management system based on the number of people you have on your team. If you've only got maybe 5 people on your team, the amount of work in terms of upkeep for maintaining this may not be worth it. But if you happen to have a larger team and you've got some kids on your team who are, big into business, project management, I want to be, CEO of a company or whatever, this is a great exercise for them to really flex their management skills.
Sean, I want to thank you for that. That was a terrific insight. And of course, we should thank the person who put forward that question. That's a superstar question. I've learned something there. I think that's a terrific way to the team manage and to know where it is and where it needs to go. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We're actually over time. And so I just want to take a quick few seconds to thank Ankita, Laura, Sean, Corey, Artie, Christine, geez, I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, for all the terrific work, and Mark Redner, of course. We really look forward to attending the Symposium 771. You do a lot of great work for the teams in Ontario and Canada, and I know that work is supported by the terrific work of all the teams that go there and contribute to help with the workshop. So I want to thank everyone, and I want to ask you or challenge you. So this is John's homework, Dean's homework. Dean wants it to be loud this year. I want you to make it loud about the webinars and get other people involved so that they can attend these webinars and learn from the very best in the robotics world. So thanks very much, everyone. You guys take care. We're going to have to sign off because we have another webinar coming on right after this. So sleep tight, and again, I thank everyone. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
The organizer has ended the session.